The illegal drug trade is booming in Bismarck and Mandan, and law enforcement says most of us have no idea how out of control the problem has become.
Marcy Bollinger begins a three-part series tonight examining why drug use has escalated, where drug deals are taking place, and where all the narcotics are coming from. Marcy.
We were given exclusive access to the Metro Narcotics Task Force. It's a co-op between the State Bureau of Criminal Investigations, Morton and Burleigh County Sheriff's Offices, and Bismarck and Mandan Police. 8 officers, some undercover, are responsible for putting drug dealers behind bars and taking drugs off our streets. For their protection, we've masked their faces and voices.
Police search warrant, open the door!
It's a jarring scene that's becoming more common in our area. Agents with Narcotics Task Force execute 1 to 2 raids every week in the Bismarck-Mandan area. The execution of this single search warrant netted $120,000 of meth, and that's a snowflake in the blizzard.
This one bag of meth. This is about 4 pounds.
This is the evidence room where all the confiscated drugs are stored. So far this year, the task force has confiscated 28 pounds of meth with a street value of $2.5 million. That's a more than 200% increase over all of 2016. 250 pounds of marijuana has been confiscated, worth $2.25 million, a more than 300% increase from all of last year.
We're seeing a huge increase in heroin that we've never seen before. If we were to go back 5-6 years, heroin was almost non-existent.
Dramatic increases in hash, LSD, prescription pills, and fentanyl seizures are also being seen. It's what's going unseen, though, that's concerning to the State Bureau of Criminal Investigations and task force members.
Just cross Calgary Avenue.
You might assume that these sorts of transactions take place in dark alleyways, under the cover of night, away from eyes. But in reality, agents tell us deals usually go down in public view, in places you likely find yourself in often, like parking lots.
Wherever there's people and cameras, these people do drug deals that way. They know they're going to be safe. They use the public as their safety mechanism.
It's done. All right, guys, take down, take down, take down.
This takedown was set up in broad daylight in a busy parking lot north of Bismarck. A wired informant went in to make the deal, and as soon as the cash was exchanged, undercover agents rushed in to make the arrest. Now, the hope is arrests like this one lead to more.
Somebody who's using isn't necessarily the top guy. So we have to put a lot of time and effort in working our way kind of up the ladder.
At the top of that ladder, the task force often finds out-of-state dealers.
These guys come out from a large city, like a Minneapolis to Chicago. You know, you can buy meth at a substantially lower cost. You can buy heroin, and then you can come out here and you can triple and quadruple your money on it. And that's really what they're taking advantage of.
The task force says many of those dealers first came to North Dakota during the oil boom.
A light was shown on us. They didn't know they could exploit us. Now they know that. So I think that uptick is continuing on now.
Now agents are hoping to turn the tables by shining a light on the issue of drugs in our community, arming the public with knowledge. Now, those statistics you just saw are only for Morton and Burleigh counties. There are about a dozen similar task force operations throughout the state. These officers say the most important thing residents can do is to be aware of their surroundings and to report any suspected drug activity.
Well, illegal drug use in the Bismarck-Mandan area has escalated to levels never seen before, according to the Metro Area Narcotics Task Force. In just the first quarter of this year, agents seized more drugs than were confiscated in all of 2016. They've also seized guns and other dangerous weapons from dealers and users. Marcy Bollinger takes us inside the BCI evidence room.
The Bureau of Criminal Investigations evidence room is packed with boxes, bags, and envelopes stuffed with millions and millions of dollars worth of drugs.
This is 4 pounds of meth. This is closing in on $250,000 worth of meth, street value.
This bag, just one of hundreds of pieces of evidence BCI has confiscated this year.
This is heroin. This is, I believe, about 4 pounds, which would put it about at $1.5 million.
The room is overstocked with every illegal drug imaginable, including lots of marijuana and prescription pills.
Pages and pages of pills.
The volume of drugs acquired from raids and arrests is staggering.
And this is a money counter. So if you don't think people are doing this to make money, This is a perfect example of what they're doing. They're making a lot of money selling drugs in this community.
More than $5 million worth of drugs have been confiscated from users and dealers so far this year. That's more than twice as much as in all of 2016. And the drugs aren't the only lethal threat narcotics officers are taking off our streets.
This is an 870 shotgun. It's very short. It has pistol grip handle. It's very easily concealable for a long gun.
The Metro Narcotics Task Force has taken dozens of deadly weapons off our streets this year. Shotguns, assault rifles, pistols, and some creative weaponry.
It's a brand new saw blade screwed into the top of a baseball bat. So you swing the baseball bat like normal, only instead of getting hit by the wooden bat, which is bad enough, you get hit by the saw blade, which would cut you open.
While they're locked up now, these weapons could have been used against other dealers or officers.
It's just evolved into, big city type of organizations, attitude, that type of thing. Everybody wants to protect their own turf.
A former BCI agent who investigated drug crimes in the 80s and 90s thinks people in Bismarck and Mandan have no idea the amount of drugs being bought and sold and the potential violence that exists in their communities.
Without the drug enforcement, you're going to have a lot more thefts, burglaries, robberies, assaults, because these people have to support their habits some way.
Retired narcotics agent Dale Meitzner says when he was working, purchasing a quarter ounce of cocaine was a large buy. Now, task force members are seizing pounds of coke in a single bust. Those drugs end up here as officers continue to carry out raids and buys so that someday this locker isn't crammed full of evidence.
Now, all of the items taken as evidence are stored until their cases make their way through the court system. After that, the items are either destroyed, sold at auction, or given away to charity. Being a law enforcement officer comes with an inherent amount of risk. Whether dealing with undercover operations and potentially violent criminals, it significantly ups the ante. Tonight, we take a look at why officers with a multi-agency drug task force take on that risk and who else is putting their lives on the line to help get drugs off our streets.
We'll come in from the east.
Well, they're executed in just minutes. Raids by the Metro Narcotics Task Force take months of research and weeks of planning.
This is from Google Maps, but this picture is fairly accurate as to what it looks like right now.
Like a lot of cases that we do, people are armed, they have handguns, they have rifles.
Still, officers sometimes have to go in, not fully knowing who it is they're going in for.
The biggest, caution is I don't exactly know who's there.
That puts us in a lot of danger because we don't know what's in there outside the door.
He's never seen him with guns, but he said that doesn't mean we shouldn't bring ours.
You're going in blind. I don't know if he is on the run from a bank robbery, a murder, or if he's just a guy up here selling drugs.
The best weapon agents have in these situations is knowledge. That's where informants come in. Low-level drug offenders are recruited, often in exchange for leniency from the court. They make buys with up to $20,000 of cash in their pockets.
I was meeting with people, setting up deals and buying drugs.
This man worked as an informant for BCI for 2 years.
Every deal carried a very scary feeling. That's a lot of money, and so being scared of being robbed or being found out that I'm an informant was really scary.
While the stakes are high for undercover informants, he saw staying in a life of dealing and addiction as the greater risk.
For a long time, I knew that I was not as good of a person as I wanted to be. I wanted to better myself and be a better person, so I seen a good opportunity to change and be better.
But changing and getting clean isn't an opportunity all users get.
And that's such a physical addiction that you actually need it every single day. So you will do what it takes, to get that medicine.
Carrie Lehman served time in prison for using and selling drugs. Now back in society and clean, Lehman says she still sees drug use, not because she's around it, because she knows how to spot it.
It's everywhere you look. I see people every day, addicted to something. And we as a former addict, what to look for.
Looking back, Lehman says getting caught may have saved her life.
I honestly believe if you are using, you are either going to end up in prison, and if that doesn't save you, you will die. You will die from the addiction.
Preventing addiction is what Narcotics Task Force operations are about, taking drugs off the streets before anyone else gets trapped in the cycle of drug abuse.
And we appreciate the access granted to us by the Drug Task Force and the Bureau of Criminal Investigations, allowing us to do these stories, as well as the cooperation of everyone who participated. The best way officers say you can help combat drug use and sales is by reporting suspicious activity.